Islamophobes, welcome. Okay, it is a video that is what 7 years in the making. MK, 6.5 years in the making.
Close to
Yes.
7 years. Yes,
All right.
I'm quite a busy man. You know how it is, man.
Well, wait, I'm not even talking about you, big man. I'm talking about the
Oh,
return
oh,
to Hell's
humble. Oh,
Kitchen.
how humbling.
Daredevil. Yeah, humble
In
yourself.
the
But
flesh.
also,
In the
look at the plot
flesh.
story. But also, a big in the making is the link up with the one and only my homeboy MK. What you saying, bro?
That's quite the introduction. I don't think I'm worthy of it, but I'll take
What
it.
you mean, bro? What you mean, bro? I've
Ah,
been trying to get you
stay
on for
humble.
time, man. I think this is the perfect first video for you to be on. Is
Yes.
discussing
For
Daredevil.
context, everybody, what's more than I adore Daredevil. I love Daredevil. Although, to be fair, it hasn't always been like that, courtesy of course, the 2003 film. But then Netflix came along, and that first season of Daredevil with Charlie Cox, amazing, amazing, absolutely
Amazing,
amazing. Yeah.
amazing, and
I
it's
would say
so
before we even get into anything, and this
yes.
might be a little contentious, but I think Daredevil is the best Marvel character out there. Oh,
That's not a
touch my
crazy
nerve.
shout though. That's not a crazy shout, especially when Frank Miller came in and did his thing.
Yeah.
When he
But
came
I
in and
just
said,
think he's the most well-rounded. There's so many different aspects
he's
of him.
definitely one of the most interesting.
Yeah.
100%. He's definitely one of the most interesting because he's got so much. You've got so much to play with
Dude,
Daredevil.
I love the religious stuff. And we're gonna get to that in a bit, so
Yeah,
maybe
but
we.
the world, anyways. Okay, so
Yeah.
really quickly, let's give our overall thoughts of what we were expecting going into it, having watched the first three seasons of the original, and what we just have our overall thoughts of the first two episodes without really getting
Okay.
into much. So coming into it, so obviously those first three seasons of Daredevil to me still is like the benchmark when it comes to comparing superhero television specifically. I look back and I go, how good is this in comparison to maybe I always like defend the flag for season two Daredevil. I know people sometimes argue it's the weakest of the three. I honestly think it's the strongest. People come in and say like when the hand came in, it slowed down a little bit. I was still all there for it. So I love the first original series. And it was also such a new like time for like Netflix adaptations. It was a whole thing. It was such a like it felt like a new millennium when the Daredevil dropped. And that tone for Marvel felt so new as well. So loved the original. Coming into it, was so afraid with the whole sort of shuffling around, the whole Born Again thing. Originally, not having Karen and Foggy in the original in the show. It looked like they were going to shift tone way too much, but then obviously Foggy came in, shifted it back in. They reshot a bunch of stuff, and in hopes to kind of recapture what that sort of the magic of the first show. And honestly, I feel like they've done that. I really feel like they did that. It feels like that original Netflix show, but with a step of like, okay, we're moving on a little bit, we're evolving, we're growing with the times. This is where it is now. You're gonna have to accept it's a Disney show now, but we're not gonna let you down. You love what you love, and we're gonna give you what you love. And whether it's the close combat action, whether it's the way it was lit, whether it was the way it was framed, everything about it was just right, it's actually right back into Hell's Kitchen, the gritty world of Hell's Kitchen, and it was amazing, amazing. What did you think, MK?
All right. Well, I agree with everything you said for the most part. I think the first three seasons are peak Marvel, obviously, but also I think some of the best filmmaking I've seen. Like the first season, in terms of visuals, I think was just the visuals part. It had the strongest visuals, but then the third season, I think, had the strongest writing. And like you said, the second season does get a slack. It kind of falls in between and falls short in some areas, specifically like the hand and Electro. I didn't mind it as much. I do get the criticism, though. It kind of takes you away from that realism that they've set or whatever. But I love all of it for the most part. I mean, the character of Daredevil himself and how he was written for the show, amazing. I loved like his struggles and tribulations, especially the third season, while he was struggling with all his religious identity and so on and so forth. So I love Daredevil. Going into Born Again, I was optimistic, but then I heard about the fact that they wanted to make it different, which is usually not a good sign with like an IP that's been around for whatever, however long.
If
That's
it's not
usually a red
like
flag.
broke, don't fix it kind of
Don't
thing.
fix it. Exactly. So as soon as they said that, I was like, yeah. And then I did watch some of the other Disney Plus shows. I think it was I don't know, Echo and what was the other one? I don't even remember them. That's
Hawkeye. I
and
mean,
that
the
was,
ones linked
yeah.
to
To
Daredevil, like Hawkeye, like
yeah.
Fisk was in Hawkeye. He was also in Echo. He was in
And
She-Hulk.
you can tell that there was a drop in quality, right, when compared to Daredevil. So I
100%.
was yeah, and then you read about the writers changing and the showrunners and whatever. So I wasn't, quickly the optimism became kind of more I kind of honestly at some point I just kind of gave up when I was like, you know what, whatever, I'll take it's gonna be
Yeah.
a hit and I'll just take it. Whatever. I love the first three seasons. Hopefully this doesn't ruin it. But then they went back and they kind of revamped and they said, you know what, we're gonna bring in Foggy and Karen and we're gonna change and rewrite everything. So that was pretty good. Although I will ask a question, because you said that they reshot and rewrote a bunch of it, but from what I've read, they reshot and rewrote parts of it, and then the old Born Again that was originally the Disney Plus show is still there. Like the
Yeah, it's
bulk of the
so
show is there.
apparently the first two episodes and the last episode
I don't like that, man.
is what they've shot.
Mm.
And the majority of that middle piece is still what they had.
How do you feel
And you
about that?
can
I feel like
kind of
that's a little
feel
boring.
them like
Yeah,
setting
you
up
can.
the tonal shift. You can feel that
You
already.
can.
Do you know what I
And I
mean?
think they did it. I think they did it a little too quickly, though, don't you think? Like they went from I don't know, it just felt like Netflix Daredevil, and then you can tell the point of transition from Netflix to Disney Plus.
It's
And I
it's
think
the office.
specifically the
It's the
second
office,
episode.
bro. It's when he's in the new office, yeah, and the
Yes.
guy's telling him, "Listen, bro, the new you, this year it's been,
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
just feels different. Everything about it
Feels
feels
different.
different, but it's not a bad different because it doesn't feel too
Not
completely
necessarily.
disconnected. Do you know what I mean? And they
Yeah.
felt like, okay, if we want to be able to like carry on this show for however many more seasons, they maybe felt like we don't want to be like creatively sort of like tied down to what they were
Strictly.
doing over there on Netflix.
I think you're right. Like I'm keeping an open mind to the very obvious tonal shift, but there was something in the second episode specifically that I didn't like. You know, when he was about to go into the church, and they kind of like just like skip past right past all of it. I don't. Hopefully, this doesn't set the precedent that they're just not going to do any of the dialogue stuff. Because a big part of why I liked the first three seasons was Matt's dialogue with what was his name, Father Lawrence, or I don't
Yeah,
even
I
remember
mean
the
the
guy's
father, where the guy with
father, right?
where
The
he goes
religious
to.
parts of it.
I mean, yeah, his
Yeah,
Catholicism is a huge part of Matt Murdock. It's a huge part of Matt Murdock.
right.
But I don't think they're gonna completely brush over it. But
Mhm.
let like be real. You said it yourself. Season three was so heavily on like him being in the church. Like the first
Right,
three episodes, brother was in the church. Do you know what I mean?
right,
It was so on like Matt's relationship with the sort of with Catholicism and him being a
right,
Catholic. Where I
right.
don't my when you were worried about the like dialogue, what sort of what made me like breathe such a sigh of relief was the interaction between Matt and Wilson Fisk, and it wasn't Kingpin and Daredevil. It was Matt and Wilson Fisk. Whereas like
Yeah,
it was about them comparing ideologies, them giving them each other threats, but not really threats. Do you know what I mean? I feel like
yeah,
them being so similar, and I feel like we can get onto that in a sec, but their arc is so similar, especially in episode two. But like they are literally other sides of the same coin, and I love it when a hero and a villain is like that. And I feel like
yeah,
sometimes Marvel let us down with the into like dynamic relationships between a hero and his sort of
yeah.
arch villain. And I feel like only maybe Loki and Thor have that. And sort of bringing in a Fisk and Daredevil to really sort of boost the level of rivalries we have in the Marvel universe is dope. It's really dope.
Yeah, I think Fisk and Murdoch. Maybe I wasn't that familiar with them before, but this show definitely sets them as an iconic rivalry. Right?
100%, bro. That scene
Yeah.
was fully pulled out of Heat. Like, fully pulled out of Heat
Oh
because
yeah.
they're the exact same person, but they're just different sides of the fucking fence. Where it's
I will also
Pacino and De
say
Niro.
I will give credit also to the actors. I think Charlie Cox and Vincent are amazing. Like I don't know if it's the writing or it's the actors. I can't quite tell. It's probably a
It's
mixture of
both.
both.
It's
But
both. When they both
yeah,
come together in a beautiful marriage like that, it's just perfection, man.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
also when it's like the dialogue shines through, but then like Cox is such a good actor where he doesn't even need the dialogue. Like he
He is
doesn't. He's
really
just
he
so good.
shines in this. I'm not gonna lie, he shines. But he's always been good. I mean, I think he
He's
blew like
always
the
been good.
character that Murdoch out the water. Like he did such an amazing job with it, and he continues. So I will say though, I think Wilson Fisk in this show sometimes is a little exaggerated, don't you think? Like or maybe it's just different. I don't know, but I think it's the Wilson Fisk we know,
There
just
was
toned
the one line delivery where I felt I was like, oh, that did feel a bit hammy.
up.
Can't remember which
Mm.
one it was specifically now.
There's a couple that I can think of. I just if he could tone it down a little. I see what
I
they're
get
trying
what
to
you're
do though,
saying,
because
but okay, let's
yeah,
give this a little bit of structure really quick. Let's go through some of what are the things you really liked in the first two episodes.
Um, all right. I like that the three of them were back, Karen, Foggy, and Matt.
Yes.
I like that the dynamic is relatively the same, stays the
Yeah.
same. It feels real. It didn't feel like it was they were trying to, parody the first. It felt like it was a genuine continuation of where the characters would have gone from where we left them off and so on and so forth. I like the twist that they did in the first episode, although, the more I think about it, I mean, it's sad, it's tragic, but I think I get why they did it, and I like the way that they did it for the most part.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. I like the suit. CG. Okay, we'll get to the CGI in a bit. I
We'll
like the
get to
suit.
see
I like the
things you
action.
don't like. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the action. I like the direction so far. I like the dynamic between Matt and Fisk. Not very sure about the new characters just yet. I think that's it. The
Okay,
visuals, I'm
so
gonna
for
because
me,
the
I
visuals are
agree with
interesting.
you. I agree with you in terms of like I love the way they brought us back into the
Yeah.
Karen, Murdoch, and Foggy like relationship. Because obviously it was such a huge part of the first show. But I feel like everyone coming into this kind of like was prepared for Foggy to die.
You say that, and I did think about that quite a bit, but every time I deflected it thinking, no way
Bro,
they're
I
gonna
feel
do
like everyone felt like the fuck because like the whole press run, he was like something major happens to Matt that changes his
Yeah, 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 yeah.
trajectory. And
The,
I'm
the
like,
the press, right? The build-up.
yeah. And I'm like, first of all, I hate when stuff like that happens because you automatically know because Matt is such a disconnected character. He's such an isolated
Yeah,
character. He doesn't
yeah.
really care about much. So the one thing that is gonna really make Matt Murdock alter and shift his path or trajectory is gonna
Oh,
be
you're
the
right.
death of probably the most significant character in his like
You know when I
whole
knew though?
ethos.
I knew when I saw the trailer, and then I saw one shot in the trailer where he was with blades freaking stabbed everywhere, and he was on the rooftop, and he didn't have the mask on, and he was crying. I saw that shot, and I was like, just pretend you didn't see it,
Yeah,
because immediately,
it was
if you know the character, you immediately know the implication. Because, like you said, Matt Murdock is quite isolated, is quite stoic. Nothing is going to shake him up like that except
it's
one.
like exactly. It's Foggy's the most integral person in Matt Murdock's life. Like, especially
Yeah.
coming out of Hell's Kitchen, going into university, him having, which is also something I really want to see maybe down the line in this show, is showing Matt in like those like oligarch situations where we don't really get to see him in, but a
Oh,
big
okay.
part of Daredevil and a big part of Matt has been being able to sort of get used to being in those situations, whether it's going from Hell's Kitchen to like an Ivy League school, or sort of like those interactions or those like escapades he goes on with Elektra, forces him to be in those like be around those like high class, high society people that growing up as Jack
Right.
Murdoch's son is not is
First of
you're
all.
not just gonna be there. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
a big part of Matt's progression and character development was him learning to be in those situations. So, and I feel like that we've just he's just gone from being that to now he's this high like I've got my own firm, and I kind of want to see him be in those arenas a little bit. I don't know about you, but for me,
Hmm.
bro, I was just like, first of all, he must have gotten the call sheet, and first, when he heard that they were coming back, he must have been the actor playing Foggy must have been so gassed. He was like, "We're back, bro. We're finally
Right.
6 years and we're back." And then he got the call
Right.
sheet in the post. I was like, "One
Yeah.
day,
I
that's
always
it."
wonder, like, dude, I always wonder how the actors react to that kind of stuff, where it's like,
It's
hell
like
yeah,
one.
and then you get the script and it's like you're in it for 5 minutes. You know what
He's
I
like,
mean?
"What?" Yeah. It's literally like, "Oh, we're back," and then his schedule
Yeah,
is like 6 hours shoot, and then and there's no more days, and he's like, "Are we shooting all of this in six
I know,
hours? Like,
right?
what's happening
Maybe,
here?"
maybe like I'm thinking like the pay maybe is like a hint. Do they get the pay in before they I don't even know how this
Bro,
stuff
the
works.
biggest hint of him dying was his haircut.
Um, he
100%. You
didn't
can't
even
get
bother.
Foggy without the long hair. So as soon as they were like, "Oh, he's
Right,
glow
right.
up, he's lost a bit of weight,"
Yeah,
watch. Dah,
he's
dah,
gone.
dah. But the
I
way it
thought he
was
would be
handled is so
caring.
beautiful as well, where it's like Matt couldn't be there with him. He just kind of had to hear him stop breathing.
Yeah.
That was
That's what I
so
was
well done.
alluding to earlier on. I think the way they did it was really good. Like you're not even sure if it's gonna happen or not. It's kind of hectic, his fighting. You get the heartbeat every now and then. It was shot beautifully too. Other than the spotty CGI here and there, it was shot beautifully. I mean, and the editing was really nice too. I just think dude, the scene also
And the sound
one last
design,
thing.
the sound design across the
Across
first
is pretty good.
episodes. I mean, across the
Definitely an
show,
upgrade.
but it just reminds me how amazing it is. Like incredible,
Yeah.
and it's integral for a show about a dude who relies heavily on his like,
On sound.
yeah,
Right.
on sound.
You'd figured it goes without saying that you'd have to hone in. They did though earlier on in the show. It's just I think it wasn't as now they're comfortable with that with the
I
whole like
feel like, yeah, I feel like they felt like maybe in the beginning they had to like let audiences kind of like dip their toes a little bit into it and get used to that. But now we're like fully like
even
inundated with
the
so
way
much
the camera
humor and
moves is
media.
different, and it
Yeah,
it
their
complements
approach
the sense.
100% is different. And it's like also I remember thinking like there's like even moments in the rooftop where I'm just like, I can't see any of this, but I'm like, oh, this is so much more intentional. It feels right as opposed to like being in Game of Thrones where I can't see any of this, but it's not meant to feel like
Feels like Yeah, that's like in Batman Begins when they did that, where you don't see any of the combat. And I get it. I guess he's a ninja and it's stealthy, but you really don't see anything.
yeah.
Like you don't know what's going on.
But this didn't feel like that where it was
Yeah.
a drawback. This felt like, oh, okay,
It's
this
more
kind of
intentional.
felt intentional and it didn't take me out. I also another quick thing of what I liked is the introduction of the new characters. I know you said you had a bit of a quarrel when it comes to that, but the introduction to Ben Urich's niece, I forgot what her name was. What was her name?
BB, I think.
BB Urich.
Right.
I really liked I think it was a creative way of sort of introducing her through like her interviews and her vignettes and stuff, which were very obviously shot by someone who's a proper cinematographer, not some just like first year journalism student. Because I've been in journalism for first year, none of them look like that. Okay, none of
I
our
know, right?
look like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I think it was a smart way of introducing her, smart way of introducing White Tiger. Also
Smart way of introducing the city through BB Urich.
100%. We might have gotten that small little glimpse of Muse. Whether or not that was him who did the King.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know. Who else? James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano's kid in there. I feel like he's gonna play a big role in this show.
100%.
So yeah,
100%.
man. I think overall I was really, really impressed with the first two episodes. Because I think maybe part of it was coming in with a bit of like trepidation just because of how much we loved the first show. But I came away from it like happy that they didn't sacrilegiously like butcher our boy.
Everything. I think my problem I don't really have a problem with the newer characters as much. I think maybe a part of me resents like what's the girl well, Cherry, the police, the guy, the retired police officer that's working for Matt. Yeah. And the girl, what's her name? Mick Duffy or something? The girl who's Matt's partner.
Oh yeah,
the lawyer.
Yeah. McDuffie.
Yeah, because because these two obviously are the replacements for Karen and Foggy, and the way their dynamic with Matt is very similar to like, for example, like the girl is kind of like the
I see that,
yeah. So maybe I just immediately it's not even necessarily true. Maybe they're not trying to do that, but that's what I saw as soon as I saw these two. I was like, okay, these are the replacements.
I do go with you, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I felt a little.
And I hope because I mean you do need to replace them, but I agree. Yeah. I hope it's not a similar dynamic where it just doesn't just feel like a little bit. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's a good point. What did you think originally when you saw that they changed the intro? Because I'm a bit scarred of like intro changes recently. Because I don't know if you watch White Lotus, but the White Lotus show is the intro is fire, bro, fire. Okay. And they dropped this new season without the new intro, and it just didn't hit the same. But they changed this one up. Still feels very similar, but they changed it up. And they changed the blood on the Hell's Kitchen, and it kind of become
the whole
like
time
rock corroding as opposed to like the blood dropping on the skyline. So what do you think about it? What do you think that might mean for the show?
Dude, the whole time that intro was playing, I was waiting for one thing, and it's the dun, dun, and they kind of delayed it. I think they knew people were kind of looking for it. They delayed it.
They waited for the beat drop.
But that's all I wanted, because that is such an iconic like melody for there, and it works so well. I get the new intro. Like I get why they did it, and it's kind of like a reborn thing, and it's born from the ashes or whatever. I think it suits the show. I don't have as big of a problem with it as I thought I would have had they changed it to something just random without any intent. Just for the sake of changing it. I feel like there's some intent there, and it works. And
I also think the fact that like it didn't start off with the intro, we got that like the prelogue before the time jump where we got the scene of him fighting Bullseye and Foggy dying, and then we got into the intro. I think made a big difference because for example, even if we were told before the show even started, yo, we changed the intro, pitchforks would have been like flying up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or if maybe they did it before the scene and like open the show with the new intro again. I'm already starting the show on a low. But then because 100%. They started it that way, I think it was smart. I think it was
I mean,
smart.
it's all about intention. Like if you can get the viewer to understand why you did something, they wouldn't. Well, they mostly wouldn't complain. I'm thinking now of how aggressive comic book fans can be, and they could still
They'll find
complain.
a way to complain about
Yeah,
anything. Yeah.
but I mean, as a filmmaker, you kind of want to get the audience to understand. You don't want to kind of leave them, clueless as to why you did something. So I get why, but that's a good point. Yeah, the intro makes sense because of the prelogue.
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. And the prelogue was done so well, I thought. I thought it
So
was done
well.
really well.
My
Okay.
only gripe, before we even move on, my only
Yes.
gripe with the prelogue is I think, well, maybe they might come back later and address this. But do you think the jump from after it happened to a year later? I'm just really craving like I want to see what happened in between because I love seeing Matt upset,
I
and that sounds crazy, but
Yeah, but because
yeah,
you need to see Matt upset because that's for Matt. Do
that's
you
the
know what I mean?
character, right?
That's the
Yeah.
character.
So I really want to see
I
more.
definitely think we're gonna fill in some of the gaps.
Yeah, probably.
There's
We'll talk about
9, there's still like 6 more episodes. I think we're gonna fill in more of the gaps, 100%. It'd be a waste not to. But I thought it was a smart way to like, you have it open with him just like playing Nick Cave in the morning, getting ready to go to work, but you still feel and you still see that like, bro, this guy's still not going over it. Do you know what I mean? It might
Yes,
still be a
yeah,
year, but he's not going
yeah,
over it. I also think the way they've written off Karen is really smart as well, because like something like that would break up a relationship like that. Do you know what I mean? It like
yeah. I totally get the
fantasies that
tension.
big would split them up, because
Yeah,
whether they were together or not, but their friendship would split up, because all you would see would be that moment again. If I look at your eyes, all I would see would be Foggy
we're
dying
gonna
again.
work.
Do you know what I mean?
And what's her name? Deborah. She did such a good job selling not only Foggy's death, but the moment when Bullseye falls uh, onto the pavement behind her, and she kind of
Yes.
looks back slowly, thinking it might be Matt. That was really well done. That
And
was
I've been
really well
seeing
done.
people getting vexed at Matt throwing Bullseye off the roof. And I'm like,
Totally get it.
bruh, do you not
Totally
know
get
who
it.
Matt Murdock is? Listen, he might have argued with the Punisher about like busting
Killing.
caps in people's chests, because that's Frank Castle would be taking it too far. But bruh, don't get it twisted. Matt Murdock, remember in Man Without Fear when he threw a stripper out a window and killed her?
Oh, the book. Right, right, right. Yeah, not the highlight for Matt, but
Yeah, I
to
mean,
your
he
point,
he hated the fact that it happened and didn't mean to kill her. But listen,
it did
my
happen.
guy's been in some shady situations before. All right.
I think that that's one of the beautiful things about the character of Matt Murdock is that deep down there's a temper issue. There's a there's ideological clash. There's things inside the head of Matt Murdock that are not as clean and
Which is
straightforward
why,
as
and that's, I'm so glad you said that, because it brings me back to what I was talking about, where it's like why Wilson Fisk is such a perfect counterpart to him, because they're both
yeah.
exactly the same, where it's like
Uh,
they're both trying to like stay away from what they truly want to be, but claim they
yeah.
don't, where it's like Wilson Fisk doesn't want to lean into being Kingpin anymore. He doesn't want to lean into being Daredevil, but as soon as they get
An opportunity.
the second they get the chance to kind of revert back to old ways. So like the commissioner like poking the stick with Fisk automatically kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
made him go back to it. When Matt fighting the police automatically went back into it. And that was such a great fight scene as well. But automatically
Yeah.
went back into it as well. They were just looking for a reason to go back to it. They're the exact same human being.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I like that Matt is not only fighting the temptation to be Daredevil again, but there's a little there's an anger boiling inside of him a little bit. Like you can see it even when they deliver the verdict on Bullseye, and he's not in focus. But if you pay attention, when they deliver the verdict and they go, it's consecutive sentences matter for life. He goes like in he does this like in the shot,
It
and
felt
it was just
She-Hulky.
yeah, the verdict or the
The reaction.
Dude, I thought you meant visuals wise, but yeah, there's definitely hints of like,
Okay, so which is a good segue into some of the things we maybe didn't like so much. Like,
yeah,
I'll start us off really quick. There are moments. I mean, there are moments that So I love the tone of the show. Okay, I really
okay,
do, and I feel like Marvel promised us gritty. Like Marvel promised us a lot edgier when it comes to like Moon Knight. Do you remember the like promise we got with Moon Knight? And I didn't really feel that with Moon Knight. And I'm
as
glad
well.
we're getting that with this. I really am. But there are moments where like it kind of goes against that tone and I get taken away a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So it's like when Fisk was talking about, I can't accept people dressing up as spiders, or like or like shit, like when they were defending White Tiger, and he was like, "Oh, he couldn't have." Don't forget, he didn't have his powers. He didn't have his amulet, Your Honor, so he couldn't have had his powers. I'm like, stuff like that. It kind of like takes me out for a second. Do you know what I mean?
100%. I think that's exactly my. I think that's the issue that I kind of don't want to say out loud because I want to give him a chance to kind of iron everything out. But the writing is diluted a little. When I say diluted, it goes from being like Daredevil was so believable those first three seasons. There was nothing in it almost except for the hand, right? And even that was done in a way where you could still buy into it. But with this new one, stuff like, well, the amulet, yes, but some of the I can see through some of the stuff also. I feel like like Fisk's mayor thing. There's some political parallels they're trying to draw here with like contemporary politics, you know what I mean? But also with like the Punisher people, with the cops at the end of the episode have a Punisher tattoo.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was done as a response to the thing that I don't know what happened where they had protests in America or something, and people kind of donned the Punisher logo. So there's things that you see and you immediately like you can see the intent behind them, and you can see through the writer, and I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like I feel like with the first three seasons of Daredevil, there wasn't anything that was all in your face like that. You know what I mean? Like parallels to
I 100% get what you're saying, and I probably felt that more with maybe The Boys season 5.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
But I feel like with this, because it naturally just lent itself to
That's true.
to going in this direction, and like it, and even like those moments you mentioned, like it just happened to be that like it draws so closely to reality, but like these things were the kind of the natural progression of these events anyways. So like for example, like the cops idolizing Frank Castle is very, very similar to like, obviously you said the Capitol Hill rushing, but like, or like the like how people kind of like idolize figures of like whether it's like Bateman or the Joker, or do you know what I mean? Or like people taking Rorschach and idolizing him. Do you know what I mean? So that it kind of lent itself to it, and the fact of like having this like kind of this criminal crook guy with criminal convictions being a mayor, kind of hits harder when in reality there is like a convicted felon who's
that's what they were trying to do.
It is. I get you. It's 100% on the nose. It can feel that way, but it feels like it was the natural progression of things, as opposed to like where it's like the boys were actively felt like watching episodes of The Daily Show sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Where it felt like, oh, this is a political commentary. Look what we're doing here. With this, it felt like maybe this felt more like the natural progression of where sort of like Wilson Fisk.
I agree specifically with Wilson Fisk because it not only felt relatively natural, but that's also a storyline in the comics. So it wasn't like they were trying to like push it down people's throats or anything. I just think with stuff like that, you want to be careful as a writer, not because the message isn't important. I mean, you have to get the message across, obviously, but the delivery of the message matters. Like if the audience feel like if they can see right through it, then it's not as elusive. You know what I mean? Like you're not really in the world. You see right through everything.
Yeah. You don't want to be spoon fed it.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't. But like do you feel like the delivery wasn't great on it? Because I feel like there are moments, for example, like where the cop pulled him up on it and he's like, "Bruh, I know you. Like I can see straight through you." Where it was like, "You don't care about any of this. You're just still that little insecure boy that's like seeking everyone's validation." Where it kind of where moments like that, and I'm like, they're still sticking to like they're still sticking to like the like introspective like character studies kind of thing, where we're not just being Mayor Kingpin. It's still like the motivation is clear, and it stems from the same dude who like erratically bashed someone's head in through a car door. It all goes back through that fat kid who shares. Bruh, doesn't him and the Penguin have the same mum, or am I tripping?
I think they do. The same actress, you mean, right?
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. His mom doesn't show up that often. She did in season 1, right, of Daredevil.
Yeah, during the flashback.
I think they do.
When he killed the dad.
Yeah, that's so funny because the Penguin and Wilson Fisk are not that far off from one another in terms of
they're not.
There's some similarities.
In terms of their motivation for things, they're definitely not. They're just
also built
bastards who are like, love me.
Right. Yeah. Literally. I will say the Penguin though, that finale for the Penguin, completely unhinged. I loved it.
Oh, mate.
Completely unhinged. Like Will
And I
Smith.
think
You could.
that's the Daredevil's biggest, like, that's
Oh,
that's Daredevil's, like, now we're in a
that's a
world
good one.
where season 1 of Daredevil came where like the best of the best was like freaking Arrow. Okay, which no
Yeah.
disrespect to the Arrowverse, all right. There's a place in everyone's heart for that show, for those shows, but that's what it was going up against. We literally are just off the heels of the Penguin, which is probably best show of the year. Like, you can compare it to like a Shogun. Do you know what I mean? So now Disney Plus and Daredevil have to like match that.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I think the when I was watching the original Daredevil, I was watching it alongside the Flash, and even at the age of 14, I could immediately
Yeah, you
tell
know the
there was
difference,
a
bro.
difference in quality, right?
You know the
So
difference.
yeah, even though I would say that even right now, competition in the TV like show realm for superheroes, um, is not that crazy. Although yeah, stuff is definitely picking up. The Penguin was really good, but I mean, what else is there really? Can't really think of much else besides the Penguin.
I
Um,
mean, the boys,
the
especially
boys,
at the
right?
start, was incredible. That first season of his Invincible was awesome. That first season of
Oh,
Invincible.
right. I kind of I stopped watching I need to get back
Yeah,
on that.
I haven't watched this new season. I'm just like, you can tell the people don't care about it anymore as well. So like, why should
Yeah,
I?
people seem to be shitting on this news, especially the animation. So I don't know.
I don't know
I'll
either.
check it
Have you
out.
got anything else that you didn't really like about the first 2 episodes? I mean, can we talk about that like grapple moment where he just landed on there like a PS2 character glitching? All of a
Yeah.
sudden was
You know
on the
what?
platform.
My theory is, well, actually, I don't even know because it must have been um they couldn't reshoot it and they had to CGI it. I can't think of another reason because it's really wonky, man. Like it's really wonky. You can
And
immediately
it's not
tell,
like you can't get a stunt guy to do that. You can get a stunt guy
right?
to do that.
Or you could just dim lights and have it be in the shadows. Like you don't have to make it. I don't have to see it. You know what I mean? Like you can
And
allude to it.
and it's not like you have to do some funny camera tricks to hide the stuntman's face. Like he's covered. Like even his eyes are covered. Like we're good.
And it's in the dark, so you could definitely get. I don't know. And I think Marvel has been very forgiving with their like what they choose to ultimately include in some. I mean, not just Marvel. I remember watching The Flash, and that was atrocious. Sorry
But
for
you know,
background noise, by the way.
people blaming these studios. It's not the studios' fault. It's more like, I mean, it is because of the culture they put forth, but it's more to do with like, so basically these studios go to these like visual effects houses and they're like, we've got this project. One of you guys bid for us, and then it's basically the people who can do it in the lowest amount of money and the lowest and the shortest amount of time win. They're like, oh, we can do it in for 600K in 6 months. Or the other house is like, we can do it for 500K in 5 months. And they're obviously going to go with them. But they're kind of already forcing, by doing that though, you're like incentivizing rushed
Lower
work,
quality.
basically.
Right.
So the only way to really fix that would to be like, have an industry standard where it's like, you can't pay someone less than this. So you can't
Right.
have these houses coming in and going, we can do it way less cheaper than they can, but it's just going to be shit. But don't worry about it. You're still going to get it quick enough to meet your deadline. That is this imaginary deadline in your head.
That's quite insightful. I mean, I don't know how it exactly works. I know that the artists are not having a great time working on these projects, though, judging by, general discourse
And
and
it's because
whatnot.
there's stupid production houses that are forcing their fucking workers to like work to the bone just because they wanted to get the
Yeah.
contract. So
All
yeah,
right.
the fact that we're digesting this differently. This is the first time we're digesting Daredevil weekly. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Um, I wanted all the episodes immediately. Like I'm not gonna lie, but that's not because that's the better way to do it. It's just because I want to watch it all
Yeah,
now.
that's just like the
After that, yeah,
indulgent side of you.
yeah, definitely, and that's the format that I'm used to. I binged pretty much all of the first three seasons. I finished all of them within a span of a couple days.
Yeah,
You know,
same.
and I think I don't know how this show is going to progress, but for the first three seasons it worked because it was kind of like a long movie format. It wasn't
It did feel like
episodes
yeah.
weren't yeah, episodes weren't too detached from one another.
I
So
still feel like those original Netflix shows still could have been 9 episodes. I'll be honest.
um,
Maybe less so
that's season
Daredevil,
two,
but
right?
especially like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, they could have definitely been 9 episodes, bro.
I don't think I remember anything from the Defenders except the Defender shows that they did. I didn't even watch Iron Fist, but
Yeah,
Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones was okay. The villain was okay. I remember the villain was okay, but anything else, I don't really remember at all.
Oh, anyways, we've had a great first 2 episodes of Daredevil. A good first 2 episodes of Daredevil.
Yeah.
It's not the first time Marvel have
Thank
dropped 2 good episodes and then plummeted. Let's hope they can be consistent with this one and give us a great Daredevil season. All right. Thank you so much.
Daredevil supremacy, baby.
And the Sopranos, baby.
One last
exactly.
time. No, Daredevil supremacy, dog.
Daredevil
But Sopranos
supremacy.
too.
I thought you
Yeah,
said
Sopranos too.
Daredevil Sopranos, baby, because the Sopranos, baby, in the Daredevil show.
That was quite a leap. But okay.
It was a leap, but it was like a Takashi Castle leap, but you kind of got there at the end. Anyways, thank you so much, MK, bro. Appreciate you.
Very welcome. I had so much fun. I'm gonna be back here again, whether you like it or not. I am officially
always welcome.
part of the cast. Right.
Always welcome, man. All right, come back for more.